Hi everyone, and welcome back to Methodical. This is episode 1, and today we're finally gonna see how I optimize the time that I spend in my inbox and how you can do it as well. Before we get started, there is a few things I'd like to say. First of all, you'll probably notice that my background is a little bit different from last time, and that is because I'm currently in Japan, so I do apologize for the more casual setup, and I hope you don't mind. The second thing that I wanted to ask you is to please like and subscribe this video if you want to support my efforts, and also I wanted to let you know that in case you didn't watch episode 0, or if you found it a little bit boring, I got you covered. So if you click on the link down below, you'll go on my website, and you'll be able to download a free PDF summary of all the topics, all the principles that I covered in episode 0. So again, it's completely free to grab, so get yours now. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you guys is the mission that I try to achieve every single time I enter my email inbox, and that is to leave it as soon as possible. So I basically came to a moment in my life where I felt that my email inbox was some kind of a prison, where I was wasting a lot of time instead of actually getting things done, things that can only happen outside of the email inbox. And the main reason for that is most people don't understand that emails are not an instant messaging platform, but they still expect to receive a reply from you straight away every time they send you an email. So the thing is that email is not Facebook, email is not Instagram, email is not WhatsApp. Emails are an asynchronous tool, and they were born to give you the possibility to think about the reply you want to craft before you send it back to your sender. So the main point here is that I decided to completely disable all notifications when it comes to emails, both on my phone and on my computer, and I think you should do too. Now, you might be thinking, what if I have an urgency? What if I receive an urgent email that I need to address straight away? Well, the answer here is simple. Emails are not the right tool when it comes to urgent matters. And if you have people writing you emails expecting to receive a reply straight away, then you're using emails wrong, and you should clearly tell them that in case they have a genuine, real urgency, they can just give you a call instead. So the moment that we remove the possibility of an urgency in our email, that's when we really become free to schedule 2 to 3 times during our day. For example, I do it in the morning, in the afternoon after lunchtime, and in the late afternoon around 5 or 6-ish, where we proactively check our emails. So basically, we are removing every kind of distraction. There are studies suggesting that every notification that we receive, including from emails, can waste up to 25 minutes of our time. And that is because that's the time on average that it requires us to go back to the task that we originally interrupted with the same level of focus. Even other studies, even more studies recently have started suggesting that the mere presence of the smartphone on our desk is by itself a source of distraction. So you understand that the moment that we remove all notifications and we decide when we proactively want to check emails, we are effectively taking back control of our time. So that's why I believe you should be doing the same. The second mission that I try to achieve every single time I check my email inbox is to reach inbox 0, which basically means that every single email that is in my inbox has been managed and then archived. So by managed, I mean that the email has been read, set as spam, or labeled, or acted upon, or whatever happens to that email. The final point is that it's being archived to the point that I don't have any other email left in my inbox. This is a very common technique, the inbox 0, but I believe the main benefit of it is that it's helping us fight the so-called Zeigarnik effect. So the Zeigarnik effect is basically the feeling that you have whenever you believe that in your mind there is still something that is left unaccomplished, something you haven't completed. And that's exactly what we experience every time we open our phone and we see that there are like 300 emails that we still have to read. So this is a kind of effect that we can absolutely fight and defeat. And actually, I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to share with you my screen and give you a practical example of how I manage the most common kinds of emails that you can possibly receive. And here we are, guys. So this is a sample email account that I created just for this occasion. This, of course, is just an example to show you the way that I categorize every single email that I receive in order to reach inbox zero. So if you have a very cluttered inbox, the way I will start is by archiving all older emails, let's say more than a week, so you are sure not to archive something that it's very recent and you need to deal with. And I will deal with all the leftover emails by following the same method that I'm going to show you right now. So in this example, we're going to use Gmail. Gmail has smart tabs like primary, promotion, social, updates, and so on. But whatever we're saying here applies also to Outlook and any other email client. So I'm still going to go through every single email one by one, so you can examine all the different kind of emails that you might possibly receive. So let's start with the primary smart tab. In my example, we have 4 different emails. How can we categorize them? So the meeting rescheduled to Friday, it's a notification coming from a human. You want a free iPhone, it's a spam email. Request for a project update is a request indeed from a human. And we also have an email marked as urgent. Now, we know that this email is not supposed to be here, and I'm gonna show you how I deal with it. So let's start with the meeting rescheduled to Friday. So usually, of course, all the content that you see here is just an example, but this is the kind of email that comes with a calendar invite attached, and maybe we need to reply to this email as well. So what I usually tend to do is I accept the calendar invite or I decline it, and then I explain why. And then I would archive this kind of email straight away. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. Then we have a spam email. Of course, I'm gonna move this email into the spam folder. And yes, I'm gonna block the sender because I don't wanna hear from him anymore. In this example, I don't wanna hear from myself. Then we have a request for project update and the urgency. Now, when it comes to the request for project update, we have a client who wants to know some updates from an ongoing project. Now, I know that this kind of task, it's not something that I can do immediately. And let's remember, my objective here is to leave this place as soon as possible. So what I'm gonna do, because I know that probably this is a task that is gonna require me like 30 to 60 minutes to check all the details of the project before I provide my update, I would temporarily move this kind of email into a dedicated label or folder called later, which I have here on the left. And I'm gonna show you in a second how I deal with it later. We also have this urgent email. Now, if I check the email, I can recognize in this example that this actually is a genuine urgency. There is a website that is offline. It's a matter of life and death. So the client is actually contacting me for a good reason, but on the wrong channel. So what I will do in this example, I will reply to this client by saying, yes, I'm gonna look at it straight away. It's still an urgency, so I am going to deal with it with maximum priority. But then I would also ask that the next time there is an urgency, they just call me. If it's a genuine urgency, of course they can call me, of course they can contact me on WhatsApp or whatever they want, but that's not the way that I use emails. I'm not here checking the emails every single second, so if there is a real urgency, they should just do something else. They shouldn't send me an email. So after dealing with the urgency and clarifying what I need to clarify so that I don't receive this kind of email anymore, I would then reply to the email and then proceed to archive it. Now, we dealt with all the emails that were into the primary smart tab. Let's go on to the promotion tab. And this is where all the newsletters are. In general, I tend to have no more than 3 to 5 newsletters at the same time, because I feel that if I have too many, they're just gonna clutter my inbox. I'm not gonna pay attention anymore, and probably it's gonna be not effective for my education. So I tend to subscribe to newsletters that I really believe can provide me some kind of educational value. So we can assume that the 2 newsletters that I received here are genuine and I really want to read them. So I will go through them and I would, of course, proceed to archive them. Now, if the newsletter is unwanted, what I will do is I will unsubscribe from them. And if it's unwanted and I never register to them, I would also proceed and mark them as spam so that the algorithm of my email provider would understand that that kind of emails must not reach my inbox anymore. So they're gonna be more likely not to deliver it to you anymore. But in this case, let's say that these are actually newsletters that I do want to read, so I'm gonna do it and then I'm going to archive them. Now we move on to the emails coming from social media. And these emails are absolutely poison because we already are so cluttered from notifications by social media, by Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. We don't need also another kind of notification through our emails. So what I will do, and platforms make it so difficult to do it, is I would unsubscribe from all of them. So probably you're gonna have to enter the platform, go into the settings, manually disable all the notifications, but it's going to be worth it because these tend to be usually tons of emails that we don't want to see anymore. So after doing that, I would proceed and archive them. I wouldn't mark them as spam or move them to the trash because that might give the wrong idea to the algorithm. So let's say that one day my Facebook account is hacked. Of course, I want to receive that kind of communication. So that's why I'm not going to move them to spam right now. When it comes to updates, here we can find different kind of emails. In this example, we have a weekly project summary. So this is a recurring update. When I receive these kind of emails, I always proactively ask myself, do I really want to receive this weekly? If the answer is yes, I just read the email and then archive it. If the answer is no, then I unsubscribe from the notification. In the beginning, this is going to take you some time, but it's absolutely normal. And then I would move it to the archive. And also we have a new security update available. So this is an email probably about a software that I received an update, and probably I need to update my website or I need to update my client's website. So this is actually something that I do have to do. So it is a task, and I would therefore move it to temporarily to the later label. So let's move it here. Finally, we have a renewal of your analytics software subscription. Now, there are two different ways I can deal with it. So let's say that this is an email with an invoice attached. So I need to read this email and I need to forward it to my accountant, and I can, just forward it and then archive it. However, if this is something that needs to be investigated, for example, a renewal that I don't want to deal with, I'm gonna move it into the later folder. So this is something that I'm actually going to calendarize so that I can look into it, I can investigate it. Maybe I have 3 or 4 emails like this, so I would accumulate them and deal with all of them together. Or if it's something that I need to refer further in the future, that's when I use different kind of labels. So let's say that this is the kind of email that I want to save somewhere, because in the future, over the course of a single year, I want to see how many invoices I received from this software. So in that case, I will move it in a specific label where I don't archive the emails. So in my example, I could move this into my accounting label here, and into the accounting folder, month after month, I will have all the accounting emails that I'm not going to archive, that I can check out at the end of the year to see how many notifications of this kind I've received, and I can access them for whatever reasons. Basically, as you can see, there are two kinds of labels for me. The first kind is a temporary label, which is later, and I'm gonna show you in a second how to use it. And the other one are all the permanent labels, such as accounting, research, health, or whatever. In my example, it's accounting, where I don't archive my emails. But the point is that in my main inbox, everything has been archived already. Finally, there is the forums tab. So the forums tab, it's where we find our communities, where we find our Reddit stuff and so on. I usually tend to just unsubscribe from all these notifications as well, just like I do with the social. Very rarely I find myself in need of this kind of notifications. When I do, I just read through them and then archive them as usual. So now we finally reached inbox 0. We went through different kind of emails, normal work emails, human notifications like calendar invites, urgent emails, newsletter, all these kind of things. We just need to rinse and repeat for, let's say, the last week of emails that we have. If you don't use inbox 0, you probably have a lot of stuff. So just archive everything that is older than a week or so and start with the last week until you reach this situation. Now, of course, I didn't forget about the later label. So this is where we want to start calendarizing all these tasks that we cannot do right now, because if we did, we will spend too much time in this email inbox. In this case, I need to do a security update on my website, and I also need to provide a project update for my client. What I will do is I will add them to my calendar, reply to the emails if I haven't done it already, and then I will proceed removing the label and archiving them. In the future episodes, of course, I'm gonna show you how I do my time boxing as well. But what we need to know right now is that there is no way that we can forget about these tasks because they are now on our calendar. And this is the way that I reach my inbox zero. Now that I showed you how I reach my inbox zero, let me add one more trick. So I believe it might be very, very beneficial if you update your email signature by clearly communicating to the people writing to you that the way and the frequency that you check your emails has changed. And I believe this might help smoothen the transition between your old and new ways. So let me show you how I do it. So when it comes to your email signature, the example that I want to show you is this one. This is a signature that I really use in real life, and I believe is the right level of politeness. And it says, I check emails at scheduled times during work hours, so my responses may not be immediate. Thank you for your understanding, which enables me to provide you with a better service. I really feel this is the right level of balance. It's not like it's gonna make a difference per se, but it's still going to contribute in making people understand that the way that you check your emails has changed. Of course, it's gonna be a process, but I believe it certainly helps. Before we end this video, there is still 2 or 3 more things that I wanted to share with you. The first is snoozing emails. So snoozing emails is not something that I usually like to do. I do it very, very rarely, and that's because the moment that I snooze an email, let's say for the next week, I never know what I'll be doing by next week. So the moment that the email comes back into my inbox, it becomes a new source of distraction that I absolutely want to avoid. So it's not something that I would recommend. And also the point is, if we closely follow the inbox zero methodology, what's gonna happen is that every single email will be managed anyway. So we don't really need to use this function, and I would strongly encourage you not to use it as well. Second one is scheduling, which is a very powerful tool, I believe. And that's the kind of function that allows us to decide at what time we wanna send an email. And I like doing something sometimes that I call diffuse by scheduling. So do you know this kind of conversation that sometimes you have where you send a reply and then you receive a reply straight away, and then you send another one, and then you receive another one straight away? So that kind of back and forth conversation starts almost like it's a instant messaging communication channel. These kind of communications waste a lot of time. So what I do, let's say it's 5 p.m., I prepare my reply and I schedule it not to be sent immediately, but to be sent around 8 p.m. This way I'm diffusing the conversation, I'm diffusing the back and forth, and I can go back to do the important things that I was doing. We are almost at the end of this video, but before we end it, I have one last recommendation, and that is to monitoring your pickups. So by monitoring your pickups, I simply mean that on your Android phone or your iPhone or whatever phone you have, you can actually check not just the screen time, but also the specific number of times that you open an app. We want our email app to be opened maximum the number of times that we said we will do it during our day. That would be our optimum. In my specific example, because I check my emails every morning, every afternoon, and every late afternoon, my ideal number of pickups per day would be equal to 3. Now, this is a very difficult feat to achieve. It's very complicated. It's, we can say, utopic, but that's what we should be aiming to. So I would strongly encourage you to do so as well. And that was it, guys. Thank you so much for following me until now. I hope this video was a little bit more entertaining than the previous one. I'm still learning. But again, if you want to support my effort, please do like and subscribe to this video. And also don't forget about the free PDF with all the summary of the principles that I talked about in episode 0, which again, you can grab for free by clicking on the link below. I'll see you in the next one, and thank you so much.